Coach Baldwin, and then I'll take your questions.
Yeah, it was really energetic. I thought really strong Tuesday, because Tuesdays are sometimes one of the tougher days, not just physically but sometimes just mentally, because you're putting things in and it's their first full day of getting it in compared to Monday. So thought the guys handled it well, and now though the key will be building off that going into Wednesday. But I thought we're off to a great start from we're probably coming off a tough emotional loss, and you have to be able to no matter what the outcome is, you have to be able to consistently come back and focus on what the next task at hand is. I thought our guys did a good job of that.
How do you deal with Brandon when he does so many things really well for you the last couple of games, but 7 turnovers? How do you keep the spirits up? How do you turn that stuff around so you keep the good stuff and get rid of the mistakes?
Yeah, it's anyone who's worked with young QBs, and I know he's not young, but he's young within this system. Anyone who's worked with young QBs, usually you go through some of that, and you just have to keep coaching up. I mean, Coach Tui does a great job, and that's why he's able to perform at the level he is, so early, in terms of some of the things he was doing through the first half of play and in other games as well. But it's fine. It's 1 or 2 fundamental things, and on one of them it was and sometimes people see it and they gosh, why did he throw it right to him? Well, sometimes there could be a route that could have been broken out and it was broken in. There's certain things like that too that come up. Sometimes QBs, the public will see him throw it right to a defender, but you don't know if a receiver did something else. So there's a few things that are there, but it's one of those things where I'm excited about correcting some of those little things, because the ceiling looks so bright in terms of what he's doing positive.
What's his mood and confidence level like?
Great. The guy has a great demeanor. The guy has a great upbeat attitude. He was in the game too. Even when things didn't go great, he was ready to come back swinging and come back fighting, and he did the same thing yesterday at practice, and he came out again today. So that's just he's fantastic in that way.
You talked about it being a tough emotional loss. What kind of is the message to the team when you're in the meeting room after watching tape for the first time?
Coach hit it on the head. We have to clean up things that are unforced. You're going to have certain penalties like a holding. You're going to have certain things when it's you're competing in the heat of it, but we have to clean up the things that are unforced. And certain things that are unforced are obviously pre-snap penalties, or obviously in terms of an unforced situation just with where your read progression should be. Those are some unforced things. So those are the things you just have to keep drilling, and it starts with us as coaches. We have to do. So if we're not getting it to the level we need to, then we need to find solutions, and that's what you're always doing as a coach, is working to say, okay, what's our issue in this situation? What's the solution? And then present that. So that's really what the message becomes to the guys.
Did you find a common thread or a reason for all the false starts?
Yeah, there's a couple things. No, there wasn't a common thread, but there were about 2 or 3 things, and we addressed them, and we're putting them in more stress in practice, so we got to find ways to put them in more stress in practice. Sometimes there are things, in terms of false counts by the other side of the football, when you're trying to use a cadence, which we were for about half that game. There are other times we're just getting used to the tempo of a new quarterback that maybe they haven't. So there are things that we just have to keep repping and put them in the toughest, stressful situations in practice, so that when they get to those spots, the game feels easier, is the best way I can put it.
With the false counts, they did get flagged for it at one point, but how long had they been doing that before, and how did you guys kind of call it out? Okay.
Honestly, I don't. I mean, the guys, because we almost don't want them complaining about it, because it's going to happen. So there's no point in complaining about it. You have to lock into your QB's voice, and in that point. So they're just one of those things where we just got to do a better job of locking in. So we got scout guys out here screaming at them, before the snap, and just putting them in the more stressful situations out here at practice. So how long, but we kind of look at it like no matter how long it is, it's inexcusable. It's going to happen, because it'll happen again next week and the week after that. We got to lock into our QB and his voice.
I think it'll happen more because of what happened this past.
It's possible, a team could, get into that, but again, if a team starts doing it a ton, a lot of times the officials will take note of that, if they see it. But again, we're looking at what we can control, and if it does happen more, we feel like we've dealt with it so much in practice that we're clued into our QB's voice and what that's going to be.
What have you seen from UCLA's defense?
Really athletic, really long, aggressive. They're playing an aggressive style. bringing a lot of pressure. Whether that continues with us or not, we'll see, but it seems to hold true through the season. So aggressive, long, bringing a lot of pressure, changing things up, coverage enough to keep you off balance in terms of split safety, post safety. But more than anything, even in spots where they're young, they're still either big or long or athletic. So they have some players. They have some. I mean, and they're and they do it the right way. And they're well coached, and it's going to be a challenge. Everything will be a challenge for us in terms. You're not going to get away with a play that you maybe are able to give 70 or 80% and have that be enough. You'll lose on that play. So our guys have to be dialed in because they're going to be in a competitive one-on-one in every situation.
You said they struggled early. Are you seeing some things that they're starting to come together on defense and on offense?
100%. You saw it. I mean, close game last week against a really good team, right? So and that's like anything, right? A new staff, a new group. You're always going to have that growth, young players in spots, young quarterback. So yes, they're growing as a team for sure. It's going to be. I know it's the old coach talk. They're way better. Don't pay attention to but this one, I promise you could put on film and you'd be surprised if you said, "Oh, that's an 0-5 team" or whatever. No, it's not going to matter. It means nothing. When we play them because they're going to be very good, very competitive, and they're leaning towards playing their best football as they keep going.
I'd just like to say that every game is sort of the next game and just one. But is there any additional urgency right now with your team, and do you want them to feel that?
Additional urgency in what way?
Just we got to get one now.
No, because I think sports psychology will tell you when you think you got to do something and we got to have it, you're tense, you're tight. No, I wouldn't care if we're 5-0 or 3-2 or whatever it might be. We should approach this week the same way, and we should dive into that process. And people can think that it's talk, but that's the truth because that that causes that tense. What you got to do is just attack, like you said, each practice. Let's come out again with a spirited Wednesday. Let's put our best foot forward. Let's make it stressful in practice so when we get in the game, each play becomes its own play and working towards better outcome, cleaner outcome, and stronger finish. But that's all earned during the week.
With the 4th and 1, was there any more reason for the more aggressive play calling, just as a whole, the philosophy of it?
The last one, not the early 4th and 2.
But in general.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think 100% we should in that spot. 100%. And that Coach Wilcox. And unfortunately, we just weren't quite able to, get it done. In terms of that. But we all look back on it, and yeah, no way would we ever do anything different than that, even though the result didn't turn out. I mean, you have it pinned down there, you got to take that opportunity.
As a whole, it seems like you guys have gone for more. Is that just that's just the personality of this team now?
Yeah, and I think, it's strategic, though. It's not just, willy-nilly, let's just go. I mean, Coach Wilcox has a strategic plan to why we're going for it in that area of field. Like BYU had set up our first touchdown when we went for it on 4th and 5, So last year, I think we went for it, I want to say we were second and third in the Pac-12s, in terms of number of times. It's just the philosophy of where we are on the field and what makes sense. And, the law of averages over time will tell you that, a lot of those go-for-it situations, you should do that, because it's not even an automatic 3. I mean, we want it to be, love our kicker and all that, but at the end of the day, it could be nothing if you kick, too. So, sometimes it just gives you a great opportunity.
What are you going to say about the use of quarterbacks this week?
It's still, everything's on the table. That's a fair question, though. I know. It's everything is on the table, and that's all right. It's just
that's a lot, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. Everything's on the table. They're just competing. They're practicing. They're all, they're all getting reps, and we'll see how the week plays out. So excited for it.
Well, that's a different response to it. Usually, we have a plan this week.
Yeah, we do. We do.
They have a plan that everything's on the table.
We have a plan. We're working on that identity. We're getting to there. But no, it's what it is. So no, it's on the table. We're like I said, we're competing, ready to roll. All right. Thanks, guys.